Here's a story for you. When Von Diesel created the diesel engine, he was running it on peanut oil. Fossil fuels are something which came later, and so this is why it works.
Biodiesel, no, Veggie Oil Workshop Part 1.
This is a Toyota Land Cruiser 86 with 2 fuel tanks conveniently. And we are driving this thing all but the first and last 5 kilometres on vegetable oil, just old fish and chip oil. We've got a few drums of oil around the corner here.
Where'd you get the oil from?
Oil comes from anywhere like frying fish and chips. You don't want chicken oil is too greasy gravy. Fish and chips are bowling clubs, pubs, fish and chip shops. And yeah, cottonseed oil and all that sort of stuff's great. All that is happening, there's no modification to the engine. We're just putting in an alternative fuel source, because all diesel engines are made to run on vegetable oil, but they don't really like having cold vegetable oil sitting in them, so we just started and stopped it on diesel, and that makes it all run smooth. So the oil comes out into a filter, and then it runs into a little heat sink, which is just an extra pipe coming off your radiator, like hot water coming off the heater pipe. You just run a little pipe, and that goes through the line and it warms up the oil, because you know on a cold morning it's a bit sluggish. The trick is to get the vegetable oil in the tank without too much fat, without any particles, and at a good temperature. So today's a little bit cool. We're going to probably heat up a little bit of the oil just on a little cooker, and that just pour some in when you're halfway through the process, and that warms it all up, and then it all goes yummy. And so we'll move around to the back of the vehicle and we'll have a look at that.
The refinement process. So the keys is clean vegetable oil needs to be filtered and it needs to be warm enough.
Next step is the oil filtration process. Okay, so here we've got some old oil.
Where'd you get it?
We got that from the back of the pub at Lismore. They happily just gave it to us for free.
What about the container? You
Yeah, that came with it. Yeah.
They just gave you a container.
They've got to get rid of this stuff. Either, I mean, sometimes biodiesel companies or the companies take it back because it's becoming aware in our new society that this is a resource.
What are these blue things out?
Okay, so these are 2 water filters. We've got a 20 micron and a 5 micron. So this is just a normal water filter. And yeah, 20 micron, 5 micron. Cool, so this is just a standard 12 volt pump. It's called a 12 volt diesel oil transfer pump. You can get them reversible. This one's not reversible, it's a little bit better because in these barrels you've got old oil.
And so your finer oil is going to be on the top, beyond a point it's going to be fat, is that what you were saying before?
Yeah, so just here, definitely like 15 litres out of 20 litre is usually pretty good, depends. You'll see when we're pumping, I'm going to start hitting, when the fat comes through, you don't want that. That's where if you've got a reversible pump you can back into the container, get it out of the line, but we'll work it out. Okay, so the more zen you are with this process, the more patient you are and high quality, the easier everything is later on. You don't have any complications. So this is the bucket, and I just use this bucket. I keep the pumps and the fuel filters in it. And okay, so I'm just going to start this first process and we'll see how we go. Fire it up, man. So that there is vegetable oil. So I'm just taking from the top of that container. This is looking like pretty good oil actually. See, that's when I'm coming out of the oil. Now the trick is not to go too deep.
Oh, it's going yellow now.
Yeah, so that stuff on top, that's a little bit of fat. This could be a really fatty container, we'll just check it out.
It's getting out.
So do you know any of the figures on sort of mileage per litre? Is it as grunty as diesel?
He's getting, the fella who's just bought this rig off, he reckons he's getting on his best runs 600 k's on an 80 litre tank, whereas on diesel he gets 550. I find that
More grunt for your buck than diesel. More grunt per litre. So now we're warming up some of the oil, going to put it back in the other and put it through the filtration process a little bit runnier, is that right?
yeah, it just makes it all move a bit better through the filters. If this was a nice hot day, better to filter during the heat of the day, and then you can actually skip any warming process.
Sure.
Final stage here, we've got some oil.
It's warmed up.
We just warmed a bit up and poured it back in here, so it's just a bit more movable. It'll help it to move through the filters, makes the fat more usable.
20 and 5 microns.
Yeah, and
This is
just
our-
hose pipe, hose clamps. It's simple.
Roadside oil refinery, battery powered 12 volt.
Yeah, here we go.
Here's the goodness. Golden beauty.
There you go. That's a good flow.
Can't see it.
And yeah, we'll just fill it all up.
So incidentally, the energy to drive the pump is also derived from the oil via the alternator and the battery. It's running off the van's battery. How about that? The oil is pumping itself and it's free.